YouTube and welcome to another video. I hope that the lighting in this video is okay, but basically it is what it is. Anyways, welcome to another video. My last video actually got some really good feedback, which is not something I get to say a lot, but I actually got a lot of comments from you guys. I actually had recommendations about what you would like to see me talk about next, and this video actually comes from one of these recommendations, and I really want to say that I really appreciate it when you guys comment on my stuff, when you give me your thoughts, your ideas, just anything. I really do appreciate it, more than likes, possibly even more than subscribers. Like I really do appreciate comments a lot. So with that being said, thank you so much for all the positive feedback on my last video. So with that being said, today we are tackling another topic that is related to Mattel dolls, and in this video we're actually gonna be talking about Mattel dolls more broadly than in our last video. We just talked about Winx Club dolls, but in this video we're basically gonna cover all of the different types of dolls that I have collected, which is Ever After High and Monster High and Mycene, and yeah, maybe Winx Club a bit as well. Okay, two things. First, yes, I did change my hairstyle in the middle of the video. Second, we are actually gonna be talking about Winx dolls quite a lot, not just a bit. And I would actually like to start by talking about the comment that inspired this video. This was a comment by Tali. Tali, I don't know how to pronounce your name. You're from Netherlands, I presume, but I still don't know how to pronounce your name. So sorry if I mispronounced it. I'm gonna put their comment on the screen. So in their comment, they actually pointed out or asked if I was aware that some dolls seem to be rarer in some countries than in other countries. And this brings us to the topic of today's video, where we talk about two very closely related topics. One of them is, why are some dolls rarer or not available? Mattel dolls, specifically lines that are already available in that country. Why are some dolls in a line rarer in some countries than in other countries? And secondly, why are some dolls still available in some countries years after they're officially been discontinued? So in the comment, Tylee pointed out that some dolls seem to be rarer in some countries than in others. And this was actually something I originally wanted to talk about in my Why Are Mattel Dolls So Expensive video, which if you haven't checked out, you should. But because the video got very long, I decided to cut this part out because it wasn't specifically related to the topic I was talking about. But it was actually something that I had noticed as well. So in their comment, they said that in Netherlands, Techno Glam Magic was actually never that rare. However, Musa Glam Magic is. And they also said that Sensational dolls, Sensational Musa was very rare, and Techno. But in like Germany and France, it wasn't so. They also said that they felt that Germany and France got the better choice of dolls, and I'm gonna go back to that in a moment. This brings me to another disclaimer that I want to get out of the way before we continue, which is that most of this video is based, and the things I talk about are based on people's experiences, on other people's experiences, and mainly my own experiences. My own experiences come from shopping for dolls, mainly in Estonia and in Finland, and I like to emphasize this, that this is largely speculation. This is just me discussing these topics and talking about the possible reasons why something might be, why some dolls may be available in some areas, and why they may not be available in some areas. And I tried making actual research on this because I wanted there to be a factual evidence to support this. However, it was very hard, and I do have some like materials to actually back me up a little bit. But it was very hard. It was surprisingly hard to find like any solid proof on a matter that actually seems to be common knowledge. So I find that very interesting. But anyways, they pointed out that certain Winx dolls seem to be rarer in some countries than in others. And this is indeed something I noticed personally as well. In my last video, I actually wanted to talk about the fact that we never had glam magic dolls of any other sort aside from Bloom, Stella and Flora. I visited toy stores so much. I looked at the Wings Club dolls constantly. It is of course a possibility that I always miss these generally more rarer dolls, but because I visited the toy stores so much, I feel that the possibility is slim. However, I never saw here in Estonia any other glam magic dolls aside from Bloom, Stella and Flora. I never saw a single Musa, Aisha or Leila or Tekna. And I did see these dolls in Finland. In general, in my experience, Finland had a much better choice of Wings Club dolls. They had the biker line, for instance, which we never had. Another thing that sort of backs me up on the on my assumption that we never had any other Wings Club Enchanting dolls aside from Bloom, Stella and Musa are these Barbie annual cell catalogs, which I have collected since 1999, and they basically show all the Mattel's products that they are really eager to sell at that time. They also include my scene dolls. They also included Wings Club dolls for 2 separate years, and I actually wanted to talk about one of those years when they included the Enchanting dolls. In the ad for the Enchanting dolls, which I'm gonna put on the screen, you can only see Bloom, Stella and Flora, and the playset, which we did also sell. I did see it at least once, so I know that we also definitely had that. But in the advertisements, they don't even seemingly mention that there are other Wings dolls of this series. You could see them on the back of the box if you have the box, but in the advertisement for our region, they never actually showed. However, there is something that doesn't necessarily prove that this is like 100% solid proof, which is the fact that we also had an ad for Sensational dolls. And Sensational doll ad also only included Bloom, Stella and Flora. However, we did actually have other Sensational dolls, and for instance, Sensational Musa and Layla weren't that rare here. I have a Sensational Musa, my friend has a Sensational Musa, and I really feel that she wasn't that rare at all. I also remember seeing Layla several times. I never saw Tekna. Tekna was definitely the rarest of all dolls here. So when my personal experience tells me that some dolls are rare in some countries than others, and other people's personal experience says that as well, that certainly should be the case, right? Because I actually had this knowledge before Tali pointed it out, and it wasn't just my knowledge, and it wasn't just exclusive to Wings Club dolls. For instance, about my scene dolls, I know that there are some lines that were only ever produced in some countries. This is common knowledge for me. This is something that is discussed in doll groups over and over again. It is said on the MyScene Wikipedia page that MyScene dolls were discontinued in 2011, however they were still produced in some other countries. Okay, so it seems I misspoke. Actually, the Wikipedia page says that Mattel stopped selling the dolls in the US in 2008, but they continued to release the dolls in other countries until Mattel stopped the production of the line in 2011. However, I think my overall point still remains. However, this sentence doesn't have any reference to it, which makes it extremely hard to track down. And I did try finding more information about regional releases and about why some dolls are available in some countries and aren't in others. And I'm gonna give you a really disappointing answer and say that I don't know. All I could find was another blog which had the exact same sentence that the Wikipedia page did, and I think they probably quoted the Wikipedia page instead of the Wikipedia page quoting that blog. And while it does seem to be like generally accepted understanding that some doll lines were only released in some countries and some doll lines were only released partially in some other countries, like I have heard other doll YouTubers mention this as well. My friend went to Thailand after MyScene dolls were discontinued, and they still had a lot of MyScene dolls. Which later brings us on to the topic of why some dolls were still available in other countries when they were discontinued. And in this, for instance, I used my own videos as proof of the fact. I have a video from 2010 which showcases like really early MyScene dolls from 2004 still being in stores. However, it was really hard to find any written text about this. Mattel doesn't talk about its regional releases. If you can find exclusive dolls that are like exclusive to a specific chain store. There are, for instance, Target inclusives. But actually, you might think that if a doll was like a Target exclusive, we wouldn't have it in Estonia. But that wasn't always the case because like we don't have Target in case you didn't know. But that wasn't actually always the case. We would often have these store exclusive dolls, but the exclusive rights to sell the one doll would just go to one specific other store. So when in America it would be a Target exclusive, here it would be a Yuko Mango set exclusive. It would be exclusive to a differently named store. So Mattel would just sell their exclusive rights to one specific store and then other stores weren't allowed to sell it. And that is fine, that is completely acceptable, and that is usually also advertised as a store exclusive. And it is quite reasonably easy to find information on these kinds of releases, but finding information on regional releases or why some dolls are more widely available in some regions is actually really hard. Regional preferences is one of the things that companies do. Companies at least claim that they look into regional preferences and give dolls and distribute things, all kinds of things, not just dolls, distribute things to certain countries based on these regional preferences. However, dolls that weren't available here and were available in, for instance, Finland, I don't think they would have been necessarily less popular here. So I don't actually think regional preferences is something that can be considered reason, which is why I wanted to share a very interesting story with you that I have from my childhood, which is I really wanted a Layla doll back then. I only had Musa, Bloom, Flora, Stella, and I didn't have Layla or Tekna yet, and Tekna couldn't be bought anywhere, but I had seen Layla. So me and my grandmother went to find a Layla doll to get me for Christmas, and we saw only Sensational Layla doll, but Sensational Layla was expensive compared to like the smaller lines, and so we asked the shop staff whether or not it would be possible to order a specific character. Because we were specifically interested in a specific character, whether it would be possible to order her or whether she would know when they might have a specific character come in. And the store employee looked at us and said, well, no, we can't do any picking. We only get what's left over from other European countries. And this is something that always kind of stuck with me because it was so shocking even at that time. Like, what are we? Some kind of like leftover country. But honestly, the older I've gotten and the more I've thought about it, the weirder that sentence seemed to me, and the less like truthful and possible that sentence seemed to me, because now that I have some like personal experience working from retail, I know that people who work in retail, like people who work in stores selecting the products, they actually, in my experience, always select the products. It isn't just that you get some kind of random products. You get a choice from your distributor of what kind of products you have, and you do have a choice. You usually make this choice yourself, or like whoever is in charge of that thing, whoever is in charge of that product department makes that choice. Now that I'm like really thinking about it, I'm thinking maybe they just like ordered like quantities and they didn't know which characters they would get. Like you couldn't choose specific characters. But even that seems unlikely. Honestly, it just seems really unlikely, and it seems especially unlikely that they had no choice at all in the matter and they would just get whatever is left. Of course, it is possible that the employee just meant that there is never any good stuff left, but that too seems weird. And of course, there is this thing where distributors don't always distribute all of their products to all of their countries. So it is possible that you would like to order something, but it isn't available in your specific region. However, I don't really. Usually, the reasoning for that is licensing. Like they don't have the rights to license these toys in this country. But this again, when it comes to like specific My Scene dolls, specific Ever After High dolls, specific Wings Club dolls, Mattel already has the right to license these dolls, to sell these doll lines. So it seems really unlikely that licensing would be the reason. So yeah, long story short, I don't really have a concrete answer for you, but I have at least discussed some of the possibilities and also why these possibilities are kind of unlikely. So this brings us to our next topic, which is why are some dolls still available in some countries when years after they've been discontinued. For instance, My Scene was discontinued in 2011, but in my video that I made in 2012, you can clearly see that we are still selling My Scene dolls in 2012, and in fact we have these really old lines. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys a secret, a really secret that I don't think a lot of Estonian retailers realize. Come on closer. Come on even closer. Are you ready? If you put an insane price on a thing and you never ever put it on a sale, it's gonna sit for a while. So yeah, you might be like, wait, what? That's kind of obvious. Everyone knows that. You know, sales, they are kind of a thing here, of course, but when it comes to dolls, sales really aren't that much of a thing here. And you may be like, what are you on about? I always love seeing dolls, and when I went to UK and Ireland specifically, they had so many sales. If a doll line was like a couple of seasons old, it was minus 15%. It was like £10. It might have been minus 70%. It was like really heavily discounted. All the dolls were heavily discounted if they weren't brand new. There were loads of very good discounts. Dolls were so cheap. I was so amazed. You never see that here. A doll may sit on the shelf for years and years and years and never get discounted. I'm not exaggerating here. I'm not making these things up, because we literally have my video from 2012 that has like a doll from 2005 that hasn't been sold, that hasn't been discounted, that's still waiting for a seller, and it might wait there until the store goes bankrupt or closes, or yes, after 10 years when somebody buys the doll finally. Like, I remember there was a mall in Pärnu that had Mall Maniacs Nolly for literally years, and I would go there and I would always look at her because I knew where she was exactly, on which shelf. I would go there and I would look at her and I would marvel at her, and she was so beautiful. And you were like, why didn't you ever get her? Well, she was never discounted, for one thing, and My Scene dolls were expensive. They were like 500 crowns, and kron was worth something at that time. As a child, you have less money. That's like fine and understandable, and not every doll has to be like in the price range of every child, obviously. But I am saying that. But what I am saying is that these dolls were relatively expensive. And to prove now a point, so I recently watched Claudina 9's video on Rainbow High, and these aren't Mattel dolls, but I watched the video on Rainbow High, and I was like, wow, these dolls seem so great. And in the video, Claudina 9 said that these dolls were like $26 on Amazon, and I just checked because I had to double check, and I was like, oh, that's great, $26. That's a great deal on a doll. And I remember seeing Rainbow High dolls at a store here, so I was like, yes, I'm buying, possibly. Well, I'm going to check them out anyways. And I remember in which store I sold those Rainbow High dolls, but I hadn't checked the prices back then, so I went, and as you see, here you have the Amazon prices, and they are $26, just as I said they would be. And here we have an Estonian website that sells the same dolls for 49.99, so 50 euros. I would like to remind you that dollar is a weaker currency than euro. Euro is worth more. So these are like more than twice the price of what they are in the US. And now, even if we discount these dollars at one point with like a heavy discount of minus 50%, that's a great discount, that's half the price, then the dollar is still more expensive than it is on the American Amazon. Now, I would like to point out that I also went on Italian Amazon and searched for rainbow hide air to like compare a price of a other European European site. And so here you can see rainbow hide dolls are kind of more expensive on Italian Amazon as well. They're still not 50. They're nowhere near 50. I'm not actually trying to shade the sellers too much, because there may be several reasons why these dolls are so expensive here. One reason is that Estonia has, I think that might be the reason, is that Estonia has 1.3 million people. And if you compare that to like the amount to the population of other countries, they have a lot more people. And when you're buying stuff for your retail establishment, when you're buying stuff for a store, the more you buy, the cheaper you get it. But if you have a smaller population to buy for, that means you can't buy as much as like a company that's selling dolls for all over Italy, or a company that sells dolls for all over England, or a company that sells dolls in America. So you may have to buy these dolls at a higher price to begin with, and therefore you can't sell them as cheap as other stores in other countries. Like they may not be able to make a big sale on these dolls, because if you discounted them that much, they would actually lose money. So that's that could be one of the reasons why we never see like big doll sales here. But the reason we don't see big doll sales here is one of the reasons why at least Estonia has like Ever After High dolls still in 2020, and Monster High dolls. And okay, so I wanted this video to have some proof of the fact that we still have Monster High and Ever After High dolls, and originally I was going to show you screen recordings of the websites that still sell these dolls, but I did actually manage to go to a toy store outlet and another toy store in between editing this, so I do actually have video footage of us having Monster High and Ever After High dolls still in stores. Granted, they are getting harder to find, but they are still in stores. Nowadays, parents are also capable of buying their children dolls from online. I mean, my parents did that as well. So they're gonna go online where the doll is cheaper, and the doll is just gonna sit here on the shelf forever until it's discontinued. And then it will be available here years after it was discontinued, and people will be shocked, like, how do you still have that doll? So that's I think at least here that's the reason why we still have some of the dolls that we do have. Obviously, for some doll lines, there's also just less interest. I don't think that was the case for my scene, because I think my scene was generally quite loved, and I think Monster High, which is actually quite hard to find now, it was generally very loved by children, and children really wanted these dolls. Yeah, I think they do like them. I think one of the main reasons is that we don't know how to discount things, or maybe we're just not able to discount things. So I hope you have found this video informative. I sort of combined these two topics because I felt like they were closely related, and alone a video on just one of them might have been boring. Like I said in the beginning of this video, the idea for this video came from a comment. So if you would like to see another topic on another video, please leave your comments below. I really do appreciate all your comments so much, and of course I also appreciate all of my subscribers, and you all make me very happy. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, then please click it. Click the little bell notification too, so you get notified every time I post. And I'll see you in my next video. I still have quite a lot of ideas, so hopefully I'll be able to film. The lighting is like my biggest issue right now, but I hope I'll be able to film, and I'll see you in the next video.